Again, we don't have to understand all the metaphors Nietzsche uses. It's up to you how you interpret them in your own life and your own culture. But he's helping you get the feeling that a young person takes on the values and the weights and the rules of his culture. But eventually, if the spirit will continue growing, according to Nietzsche, the spirit transforms into a lion. And the lion pushes back against all these rules. It says, maybe I will think for myself what is cool, what is right, what is good, what is the way to live. And Nietzsche again uses a metaphor of the lion fighting a dragon. If you go back and read Hobbes, the great philosopher, he calls his book about society and government Leviathan. Leviathan is another word for dragon. And Nietzsche is just using this metaphor that your spirit has to grow strong enough to push back on the rules your world is giving you, to decide if they are the same rules you want for yourself. And then beyond that, you move from the lion to the child. By pushing back, you give yourself your own space to play, to decide what you really want to do, to decide what you really think is good, what really helps you and the people around you. You begin to just play for the pleasure of living. And this, according to Nietzsche, is the highest stage of spiritual growth. Now, does this idea hold up? Well, in English writing, I think there's some examples. Here we have The Once and Future King, a best-selling fantasy that draws on the Arthurian legend. And in this, the young King Arthur says, "If I were a knight, I should pray that I encounter all the evil in the world, so that if I conquered it, there would be none left." This is a young person saying, put all the hardship and evil and trouble of life on me like a camel, and I will hold it up and I'll fight against it and help others. Still, we come to another book, perhaps, To Kill a Mockingbird, where now we have Atticus Finch. And Atticus Finch's daughter is telling him, other people think you are wrong, Atticus. And Atticus says, they are entitled to think that. But before I can live with them, I have to live with myself. You see, in this book, the culture is pushing a value onto Atticus Finch. In this case, the value is segregation and racism. And they're saying this value is right. But Atticus Finch is pushing back and saying, I have to live with myself first. And indeed, through reading the novel, we start to believe that Atticus is perhaps the most heroic character by resisting the value of the culture around him. Finally, we come to Tolkien and Lewis. I don't have their books, but you should know them. The Hobbit and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Probably the most popular children's stories in the English language before Harry Potter, which came out later. But these are two hugely influential writers. And this is Tolkien. He said, my friend, C.S. Lewis, said to me one day, there's too little of the stories we like. We shall have to write our own stories. And so the most lasting pleasure for us has been that we told each other stories that we like. So here are two guys who have been through the First World War, a great deal of change, and they decide they want different stories than the stories their culture is giving them. And so they're just going to write stories for each other. They're just going to play. And in fact, those two stories, or stories by those two writers, The Hobbit and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, are probably the most popular English novels for children after Harry Potter, which came out much later.